And there's a couple of these are all online tools, and there's a couple of really neat websites. Ask 500 People, this is a startup company, started I think less than 6 months ago or something like that. You can get responses, you can ask one question to 500 people. You can't choose those 500 people, they're just random people. One question to 500 people for free on their website. So say you have the hose product, and you're asking, if maybe your one question, you want to be specific with your question, you don't want to ask, will you buy my product, because there's too many things involved in that. You want to ask maybe, do other people have problems with their hoses knotting up? Or how much did you pay for the last hose you bought? Or things like that. Those are things where the Ask 500 People would really help. But that's a really neat website that you can use. And I'm going to show you a couple of screenshots too from some of these tools so you can get a better sense of what to use and when. Yahoo Answers, Yahoo Answers is a good place to get, you're going to get more of a focus group or one-on-one type feedback. It's going to be a limited number of responses. It's going to be very soft, touchy-feely, and they're probably going to be all over the board. But it's still a great tool you can use to go out there and ask. And I'll show you an example of that one as well. Vizu, another one, free to create a quick one-question survey of your product. And so these tools are really meant to be used to give you a better sense of your product and what people think of it, and not necessarily try and do everything in these surveys. These are just meant to kind of scratch the surface of what people think. So this is the example from Yahoo Answers. A company I was working with, there was a product that had something to do with when you change your razor blades. And so we tested out Yahoo Answers for this. We said, how many shaves do you do before you change your razor blade? I guess this product was mainly towards men, but it could be towards women as well. But we were thinking on facial hair. And we got 8 answers back, and they were across the board. Some people said, I change every 3 times, maybe twice. Some person said, when it starts hurting. Or some guy said, I have a beard, so I don't use it. But you can get a little bit of sense of what people would think or what issues and pain points people have.
Sorry, who answers this kind of question?
These are just random individuals. Go to Yahoo Answers, and I mean, you can use it for surveys, but say you're even looking for a certain type of market research report, you can use it for that. Or if you're trying to find directions to a place that isn't on MapQuest, you can use it for that. You can use Yahoo Answers for anything, but you can also use it to do some basic market research. Free tool. All you have to do is sign up for their service. So that was Yahoo. This is an example from Ask 500 People. This isn't related to inventing, but this is to give you an idea of if you were to put your one question out there and Ask 500 People, what information you're going to be getting back. And so this appropriate timing, of course, we're in the middle of election season. Do you feel that it is right to vote a straight party line rather than for the individual's candidates? So they're asking people, should you vote party line or should you vote for the candidate? That's what they're asking. And here's the feedback they got. They broke it down. People who said yes, people who said no, their country, where they came from. Most of the people are in the U.S. And they all broke it down. They put, when they do their survey, they put it not only on their website, but a lot of other people's websites. So they broke it down to, was it on other people's websites or was it on the Ask 500 community? So that's the type of information you can expect if you want to go out there and ask 500 people a question. Again, that's free. And I was talking a little bit about statistical significance. I don't want to get into the details of this or I might fall asleep, but statistical significance. We were talking about you have to have a survey of over 400 people to really get statistically significant. And that means you're going to have an error margin of plus or minus 4%. But if you only surveyed 5 people, then you're going to have an error margin of plus or minus 44%. So your survey really doesn't mean too much. So I'll do a quick explanation of what that means. So if you're asking 500 people, and say you're testing a logo, and 74% of people like your red logo, and 26% like your green logo. Okay, if you ran that poll again, the same survey again, there'd be a 95% chance, 95% of the time, you would find responses within a plus or minus 4 margin. So between 70 to 78% of your people would like your red logo, 95% of the time. So that's what statistically significant means. And so that's just to give you a brief idea of why it's important to ask a lot of people when you're doing surveys. Now, as I mentioned, these are some pretty neat tools that without the advent of the internet would not have been available, but they do have their limitations. And so if you have a lot of questions about your product, or it's still a very fluid product, maybe you haven't picked some of the design features it's going to have, or the shape, or even the function sometimes, or what it's going to do, or how it's going to accomplish that function, maybe then you can use these for very simple questions, but you're going to probably need some not professional help in that sense, but professional surveys done if you have a lot of questions. You need to ask people that have a house because they have to water their lawn. You don't want to ask people with apartments. So if you have to choose people in your target market, the mothers who have children 2 to 5 or whatever the case is, you can't really do that with the free tools. That's when you're going to have to pay a little bit more money to do surveys and things like that. And in some cases, sometimes your customers might not be all that computer literate, or they might not use the internet, and so they're obviously not going to be responding to the online tools, and so that's something to consider as well. Or if you have a very complex question, you need very simple, very closed-in questions when you're using these tools. If you're asking, what do you think about my product? It's not going to fly. It's not going to work on these one-question surveys. So if you have a very complex question, you're going to have to probably step it up a notch. So professional surveys. Again, these really just cover the limitations of the one-question surveys and the free tools that are out there. You can ask follow-up questions. You can ask lots of questions. 30 to 40 is usually an ideal amount of questions. If you guys have ever taken surveys, online surveys, you already have experience with it. You can sometimes you can choose your specific target market, and how targeted can they get depends on how much money you want to pay them. So if you want to survey everyone, you can use these free tools. If you want to survey just men, maybe pay a couple $100. If you want to survey men who use disposable razors or something like that, you may have to, up the ante a little bit. So it really depends on what you're comfortable spending. And who does them? Marketing consultants are primarily the main people who do them. There are some companies out there that do market research surveys. Again, they're going to cost you something from several $100s for a very simple type survey up to thousands of dollars if you want to do a focus group or something like that. So really, there's a wide price range. Go out there and Google market research, focus groups, consumer surveys, and you're going to find a bunch of people that can do it for you.